Come along, children. Now we're going to have a little music.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to First Cut. This is our spoiler review of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I am here with Robert Butler III, RB3 himself, here to talk about the movie at full spoiler length. We're going to get into the discussion of this film, get into what we like, what we don't like, and how we feel like they were treating the characters throughout the movie. We are going to jump right into it. RB3, our boy, we did an entire episode on him. Sam Raimi himself returns to the Marvel Universe to direct Doctor Strange in the second iteration of his franchise, of his saga. I don't really know what to call it, but Sam Raimi's back, trying to bring back the Sam Raimi formula, which is originally what initiated the MCU formula, or what created the MCU formula. It's basically based on what Sam Raimi created in the Spider-Man films. How'd you feel about this movie going in, knowing it was Sam Raimi? And now, how do you feel about it after watching it and going through the entire journey of this Multiverse of Madness?
Well, I mean, going through the full length of the journey, I'm going all the way back to when Scott Derrickson was the original director, because I was a big fan of the 2016 Doctor Strange movie. And I was quite upset when he left the project initially, especially because he was tweeting some like really cool concept art and cool imagery from comic books that, some of the imagery that he was tweeting ended up finding its way into the final product. So it looks like, at least some of the concepts and designs ended up spilling over in some ways. But I think it is interesting that, when they replaced Scott Derrickson with Sam Raimi, that kind of like raised the big eyebrow for me because, obviously Sam Raimi, has that relationship, like you said, with Marvel, with Kevin Feige, because people don't realize this. Spider-Man 2 was the first movie that also Kevin Feige produced. Like he was the first producer on. His first entry into the Marvel Universe was being an associate producer on the first X-Men movie, but Spider-Man 2 was the first time he was a producer. So I'm saying all that to say, like, it's like a full kind of lame journey. And then obviously Sam Raimi's had kind of ups and downs with Disney too, right? With Oz the Great and Powerful, I think there was a contentious relationship there. At one point, I think he said he didn't want to work with Disney that much. Long story short, it kind of comes to this cool moment where I think, they kind of let him kind of riff as much as, they as much as they wanted to, as much as he wanted to. Now I did hear reports that there were like reshoots and like a bunch of stuff that had to be redone for it. That could just be standard cosmetics. That could just be whatever way for it. Whatever happened, I still think the full Raimi voice ended up being communicated all the way through, and which is a very different approach from the original Scott Derrickson. Kind of more mystic, kind of subtle horror take that was more in the first one. This one's like over the top, bombastic, campy, and just the ways of like Evil Dead and all of the classic Raimi films, and the ways that I love personally.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I feel like it's like a mixed bag, because I feel like obviously it's not full Raimi in the sense of horror as far as rated R. Obviously, you can kind of tell like there were moments in there that he wanted to do even more gore, and they were just trying to tone him down a tiny bit, just a few scenes in particular. But if I were to push back on the Raimi thing, yes, I feel like Raimi's tone is there, and I feel like he was allowed to be full Raimi. But I still feel like there was still 20 to 25 more minutes of this film that they cut out. I just felt like it was so rushed, and I felt like Raimi had more story to just really flesh out. I felt like the movie was just incredibly rushed, in my opinion. And I still feel like Raimi is not known for rushing films. He's very deliberate in his pacing, like really good pacing, like incredible in Spider-Man 1 and 2, and throughout his other films as well. He's able to do a really quick pace, but still have a lot of story. This one felt like they were touching on certain things, and then they were going to the cool scenes, but they would touch on certain elements of the story. But that's the only way I would push back on the Raimi thing. But other than that, you're right. It is feeling a lot like a Raimi film. But is it a good film or a good Marvel film? Do you feel like it lives up to the hype?
Okay, well, before I answer the question of if it's a good film or if it's a good Marvel film, I do, we're going to talk about Raimi a lot here. I actually don't know about that point though. Like, I actually kind of think in some ways maybe Marvel might have wanted him to be to add more, because the way I look at it, you're talking about the great, incredible pacing that's in Evil Dead 2, and of course Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2. But then you look at Spider-Man 3, which is, of course, Sony put their hands all over it, but also the pace in that is incredibly rushed, Oz the Great and Powerful, same thing, so it's like it's kind of almost like when Sam Raimi works in these big budget like movies these days, it's almost like a pressure to like keep it moving fast and snappy. And again, I don't know if that's the studio, I don't know if that's them, but I don't think it would be Marvel, because Marvel isn't opposed to putting out a 2.5 hour film. We just saw that with Spider-Man No Way Home. So, and I think this movie could have been 2.5 hours for sure. I think it would have worked better. But at the same time, I don't know. Again, I love Sam Raimi. I think he's a great filmmaker, and I love the tone and his style. I don't know if his filmmaking skills are as sharp as they were, 15, 20 years ago. And I think the parts of the film that are a little bit dull are also to be blamed on that as well. So I think the parts that are a little bit skippy, I'm like, oh yeah, that's like a modern Raimi like kind of movie, so that's how I
don't know. I feel like Marvel so I thought to myself, what was the last Marvel movie? Eternals was like 240, right? Something like that. And I really do feel like Marvel after Eternals was like, you know what, fam? We're going to do like, give me under like 210. And they just like rushed the crap out of this. I feel like this movie was so rushed, man. Like it is literally rushed. I was like, slow down. What is happening? Just give me 5 minutes to breathe. Or just like 10, 15 more minutes. And this movie would have been way better. And I just felt like, I don't know. I feel like that's Marvel. I might be wrong, but I feel like Raimi's so good at it. I mean, with Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 2 is like 230, right? Or 225.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, we talking about that was almost 20 years ago. You know what I mean? True. And then you look at, again, I'm just saying, Spider-Man 3 is there. Oz the Great and Powerful is there. Yeah. Then he went to TV, did some stuff. And again, he did that other movie. That was a horror movie, Drag Me to Hell, which was a really short, abbreviated, nice, like quiet, like elevator set horror movie. But still, like, that's just one tiny film. That's not a big budget super. I think I just feel like, when it comes to these big budget things, there's a little bit more pressure for him to give that fast paced thing to it. And by the way, I think Marvel does go out of their way to like make sure that character work is like the priority, right? And I think that's why they go and get directors like James Gunn, or why they get directors like, Chloe Zhao, the two indie directors that did, Captain Marvel. Like, they put a heavy emphasis on characters, but they do that by picking their directors, right? And I think they kind of trust that the directors are going to be like, all right, I'll give you the character work, like do the stuff. But
did you feel that in this movie?
I think they did trust him, but I think again, I'm putting this on Raimi. I think much love to Raimi. I think maybe he's not the sharpest when it comes to the character work. You know what I mean? Like, when it comes to doing, and again, this is a plot that we have Wanda Maximoff that's already 3/4 into her story arc already. Like, she had a whole story arc from the rest of the MCU, and then another story arc in WandaVision, and now we're here. So this is like part 4 of her like entire story. This is part 2 of Doctor Strange's story, really like part 3 of Doctor Strange's story. It's like he's already having his hands tied with like a bunch of character stuff kind of weighing him down. And, he kind of just figured out, we'll put that stuff to the side and we'll focus more on the big monsters and stuff like that, which I think was what they wanted to do. So
yeah, that's why I feel like I might be more negative than you are in this film. I don't know. But that's why I feel like the movie was kind of exactly what you just said, man. Was kind of like, character smarter. Like, who cares? We're going to do like a bunch of cool horror scenes and do a bunch of cool like multiverse hopping scenes. And that'll be good enough for the 2-hour runtime that we have. That's kind of what I felt. Like, we got maybe 1 or 2 scenes that had like actual character moments, and that was it. And then I felt like the motivation wise, it wasn't exactly there for almost any character. And I mean, like, any character, like Doctor Strange, America, and Wanda, like all three of them to me had the thinnest of like character arcs. Like,
well, Wanda had character motivation. Wanda had character motivation.
Yeah, but Wanda's character motivation was being the most extra woman on the planet. Like, I thought if you thought Wanda went far in WandaVision, damn, did she go far in this movie? Because she's like almost dead ass unredeemable by the end of the film. By the end of the film, I'm basically like, and the audience too, like around me is basically like, yo, she got to go. Like, I don't know how she got to go, but she got to go. And eventually she does, as we said, spoilers, because she's like completely unreasonable. Even though she literally says she's being reasonable and killing everything in sight in different multiverses, even if every multiverse collapse, all to like torture her other self in another universe by taking over. I'm just like, damn, that's like the coldest thing I've seen. But all right, I guess this is new Wanda. I don't know. I felt like when it came to Wanda, I really, really felt like the writers just completely ran out of ideas. They were literally like, you know what? Let's just have Wanda go crazy and then kill her.
No,
Really? That's it?
I don't agree with that.
Let's have Wanda go nuts.
No.
Go like, where are my kids? Where are my dragons? Kind of moment. Daenerys Targaryen. Shout out to Game of Thrones. And then just be like, you know what? Kill her at the end of the movie. Because that's the only explanation I have for how they did her in this movie. I was just like, yo, she's just plain evil.
Yeah, I mean, well, she is evil. I think the arc that she was on was like leading her to be evil, right? You know what I mean? That's the arc true. That she's been on this entire time.
I just that think, evil? Damn.
I mean, she is the most powerful character in the MCU period. That's why Doctor Strange was like, yeah, I'm not going to go to Hawkeye. I'm not going to go to, Bug people. I'm not going to go to Ant-Man, Spider-Man. I'm going to go to the most powerful person in this. And if the most powerful person is a little deranged, yeah, it's going to be a problem. And by the way, so yes, I agree that her motivation in this movie, like, wasn't there. Like, she just kind of shows up and she's evil, right? I think if you watch WandaVision and you watch the MCU and you've seen all of that story leading up into this point, and plus, you just, I guess it just depends on like what, I guess, like side of like morality you go on too, right? Like if you care about not necessarily, but like if you kind of get like where the whole like the longing for the grief or longing for the family kind of aspect comes from, I guess it's a little easier to like swallow that motivation as opposed to somebody who's a little bit who not. I'm not saying you, Ace. I'm not saying you, like, or Andre. I'm just saying, like, in general, like, I'm just saying that motivation might hit more personal for some people than other people. That's what I'm saying. Especially in today's age, where we're all nihilistic. We're only 30% of people want families. Like, Wanda's not taking a particularly like popular position, So that's why it comes off a little like, what is she doing? But I think, in her mind, she's been sitting watching sitcoms her entire life. Like, that's all she wants. She just wants to be a good mom. I get the motivation. But I will say, though, it could have been better established in this movie. Like, it could have been, we got one dream sequence, which I thought was a great dream sequence. I don't like dream sequences in movies, but I love the way they did them here, especially when they came out with like that cool like camera shot that was like vertical, and then, kind of came to horizontal. Love that. But you kind of see that's like right off the bat. But I wish they did give her more. I wish they gave America a lot more, because she almost didn't say like almost any words in this entire movie. So I do think, like, again, when you posed the question like a little bit a while ago, is this a good movie? Is it a good Marvel movie? I think it's a great Marvel movie, great piece of fan fiction or great piece of fan service. Is it a great movie? Nah, it's not. It's not. It's sloppy. It's all over the place. It's up and down. You know what I mean? Like, bad motivations, bad characterizations. But hey, I can't not say that I didn't have like a ball watching it. So
yeah, there was definitely some fun moments for sure. But I definitely feel like if you're invested into the character of Wanda, I'm not a super big Wanda fan, but if you are, I do kind of feel like you kind of feel cited or slighted, where there's other characters in the MCU who do have even an anti-hero villain arc. Like, even Zemo, at least Zemo gets to like do his like gangster prison shit, like Godfather style at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier, but he's still like chilling. Like, Wanda straight up had to like kill herself because she was so damn evil. Like, well, yeah, I'm saying, like, she was so evil that Marvel was like, yo, she got to go. Like, even Zemo got to stick around and be a gangster.
She's not dead, but she's not dead. She's not dead. She's not dead. We know that. Come on, man. We know that. We've seen Marvel movies like a bajillion times. We know she's not dead. But I do think, like, I do agree though in the fact of like, you know, she was super evil and she was gangster. But bro, those were the best scenes. Like you can't tell me that scene when she got in there and murdered that Illuminati joint. Oh my god, yo, I think about that scene. I've been rerunning that scene back over and over again.
Can we talk about that scene? Obviously, okay, guys. So we're getting into spoilers. We see that Professor X, Charles Xavier, is there with Patrick Stewart playing him. We see John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, which got a little bit of an applause in my audience.
I don't like it.
We see who else? Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, and then we see Captain Carter and Black Bolt. Can I be I was the only one who cheered for Black Bolt.
I cheered for Black Bolt too. I did cheer for Black Bolt.
Black Bolt's my homie, bro. Remember in Humans? Remember
in Humans? I know.
Yeah.
Yo, I was telling the person I was with, I was like, yo,
I was like, that's
you won't believe this. Yeah. I was like, you won't.
Yo, he's about to kill it, bro. He's about to kill it.
Yeah.
All he's got to do is talk. That's it. And it's over. And obviously I got slighted. You know, I got crap thrown in my face because he's the first one to go.
That's why you don't like this movie.
They did my boy dirty, bro. They did him dirty. They did him so dirty. They did everyone dirty, to be honest. I gotta be real, man. Like that scene, as cool as it is, you gotta be honest. Like if you're even a tiny fan of any of those characters, they did him dirty. Like Reed went out quick. Black Bolt, I was like, that's the strongest dude. Oh, he's gone. Captain Carter, like I was like, damn, like they did not care about seeing these characters in the future or their universe. And even Monica Rambeau, that's someone that pissed me off the most. I was like, kill everyone, but don't kill. Come on, Lashana Lynch.
Well, she fought the hardest and to the end, like all the way to the end. So like she did. But okay, so I'll say this: like I love, you know, we've seen this scene like a couple of times in like modern superhero properties. Like we saw it in The Boys, we saw it in Invincibles, we saw it in I feel like another TV show that came out recently, we saw that in of like the one character killing the whole superhero team up kind of situation. We've seen that a couple times. But a lot of times when they do it, it's frankly like either riffs on like the Avengers or riffs on the Justice League. But this was way more unique to me because these are actual like not MCU characters, but actual Marvel characters that we've come to know like throughout the years. And the powers were way more. The powers were way more intense that were like going against Wanda, but also I felt like the kills were way more creative than we see in like other movies too. Like with the like the Black Bolt thing. Look, I know it's like a disappointing kill, but when it happened, you can't. That was the most audible shock I've ever had in like a movie, like in a Marvel MCU movie. That was like, and then when Captain Carter got sliced in half with that shield, yo, the whole theater was like, yo, like covering their eyes type joint. And that's why I like this scene a lot more than like I liked in The Boys or in Invincible, because it got that Sam Raimi wackiness to it, like the way the camera was on the shield as it was like going towards Captain Carter. It was something right out of like Spider-Man 2 with that scene where the octopus or where Dr. Ock's arms were like going crazy. It was literally like just like that scene. It was so stylistic and classy and still PG-13, which I respect. You know what I mean? Like it was still gory and still gruesome, but like classy with it too. It was chef's kiss, perfect scene right there, perfect. Yeah,
I love when you say classy. And obviously Professor X had his moment as well. But it's still, you still feel like even in that Professor X scene, you still feel like there's a woman trapped in here. There's another Wanda trapped in here. What our Wanda is doing is so messed up that even like the original Wanda that's in this universe is suffering throughout this whole scene. Kind of like a sunken place kind of thing. And I was just like, damn, this is really dark.
Bro, this is Wanda. Like we've seen it. No, she took over a whole town in the last thing we saw her in. And then I make a whole video talking about how racist she was. Yo, fam, it's right there.
She's still on her shit, bro. She's like, yo, that little Latina girl, I'm gonna rip that little Latina girl.
Yeah, no, literally. Yeah,
and I was like, white woman tries to kill teenage Latin girl. That's the headline, bro.
That's it.
In any universe, like she's chasing after her. I was just like, damn, she's going after this little Mexican girl.
Yeah.
Let's talk about America Chavez, man. I gotta be real. I've criticized the MCU a lot in this channel when it comes to Latin representation. Rightfully so, man. We don't get any. And then finally, when we do, we got America, which I said I appreciated. I tweeted out that I appreciate it, but damn, it's paper thin. Like, my God, it's paper thin. Like when the MCU has introduced other characters before, even if it's just an introduction, there's at least a cool 5 minute, like, this is who this is. Look how cool they are. Let's appreciate who they are. And we didn't get any of that in this movie. We got maybe 5 seconds with that memory scene, which I liked, seeing her two moms. And I liked that scene, but that was it. We didn't get anything else from her throughout the entire movie other than being a MacGuffin, or other than trying to be protected, which I felt kind of disappointed in. Also, apparently in the comics, I'm not familiar with her in the comics, but apparently in the comics, she's Puerto Rican, or she's raised Puerto Rican. And in this movie, she's not.
What is she?
She's Mexican by a lot.
Oh,
she's
really?
very Mexican. Like, as soon as she started talking, I was like, oh my God, she's hella Mexican. She even said güey, a Mexican slang term, like fool, basically saying like, yo, what up, fool? In Spanish. And I was like, okay, you could kind of tell that Marvel didn't care. That Marvel was kind of like Mexican, schmexican, Puerto Rican, whatever. It's all the same thing. Let's just have her be in the movie. Let's have her say like 2 words, and let's have her just being chased all the time and have to be protected by Doctor Strange. I gotta be real, man. That's the truth. That's what it felt like. It felt like Marvel was just like, yeah, we got a brown girl, better be happy. And I'm just like, really? This is what we get? Like, she barely says anything. She's not comic accurate as far as her Latin roots. And like, she doesn't really develop into anything. Like, we get that final moment with her, but it's not really well earned. I don't know. Tell me I'm tripping, man, but that's what I saw in this. No, right?
I'm not. Again, you're not tripping. You're not tripping. Again, like this, it was a MacGuffin character. Like, it was a fully character that was a plot device. I don't know what else to say, but other than, I mean,
but why does it got to be like, why do you got to do that to a Latina girl? Like, why can't,
right?
You know what I'm saying? Like, this is why.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like all the characters are paper thin. Christine was paper thin. Christine was super paper thin. And she
not as much as America. And America's like supposed to be a superhero.
Well, yeah, but maybe we'll see. We might see more of America. I don't. I totally get what you're saying. I also know for a fact that with the MCU, we're definitely going to see America Chavez in like a young Avenger sometime down the line, or something. Like, they're not going to just introduce a character like that and have nothing. So like, I totally get you. I definitely think there might be more of her eventually. So I do look forward to that. But yeah, I definitely, when I was watching it was notable. Like, I was like, yo, this is kind of crazy. Like, and they literally would have lines like, America, you could do it, or America can do better, or like, I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like,
yeah, it really was
that.
not. I don't know. You didn't feel like the kind of like respect that they had for the character. And again, I'm not super familiar with her in the comics, but even like a tiny bit of respect as far as the comic book character itself and bringing that to live action, you just didn't feel it. You didn't feel like it was there at all. Even her power set, which is a really cool power, like, that's a dope ass power, still felt like it was more of a plot device. It still felt like it was more of like, we need to get from point A to point B, more than it was like, look how cool her power set is, which I've seen in other movies where they introduce characters and they say, hey, look, this is what this character does. Check him out. Here's this cool 3, 4, 5 minute scene of them kicking ass or talking about their power. But in this one, it felt more like a plot device.
Well, yeah, I think that's a general criticism that I've been seeing on Twitter a lot too, is that the movie's not necessarily the most creative with a lot of things, right? Like, I think they, I saw on Twitter, when they go to a different universe, the only thing that's different is that the red lights turn green or something like that. Like, that's not, or that the
and
pieces,
Bruce Campbell's there?
Yeah, Bruce Campbell's making pizza balls. Like, that's the only difference, really, in a different universe completely. So I get it on that level. If you're looking at the movie and you're saying, they're not, especially with her powers, yeah, they probably literally just ran out of ideas. Like, what can we do with star transportation stuff? We can't do much with that, right? So they probably couldn't think of like a lot to do with that, which I do think is unfortunate, because maybe because I look at the first Doctor Strange movie and they found a lot of creative ways to use Doctor Strange's powers, like even with the time warping, like all these, like they found a lot of super creative ways. Even the extended like mind warp scene that we saw in the first one, that was like 5 minutes long. Like, I know a lot of people complained that was like too long of a scene, but I would have loved to have seen one of those like in this movie for maybe like America. Like, you know, we saw that 2 minute, or maybe it was like, I don't even know if it was 2 minutes. It felt like 30 seconds of them, excuse me, hopping from universe to universe to universe to universe. But I would have loved to see more of that. Like I would have loved to seen that extended into like a 5 minute sequence, or maybe that could have been that moment that you're talking about, Andres, you know? Even in Inside Out, that kind of reminded me of Inside Out when they had like mad universe shifting stuff. But nevertheless, I do think, and you know, I'm agreeing with you on the negative parts, but I'm also saying like my theatrical experience was just pure fun. Like I was like all over the place. I was balling. I was having a good time. Like, and when Hobie brought back the undead Doctor Strange and got, you know, the arm came out of the thing and the little thunder happened, I was like, yo, this is yes, this is exactly what I wanted out of this movie, you know, just that campy horror. So the movie gave me what I wanted. So that's why I'm not going to be too mad at it. You know, it gave me the campy, over the top, cheesy Sam Raimi horror movie that, you know, was marketed to me and what I got. Now, did it give me all the character stuff that I wanted? Not necessarily, but, you know, it is what it is.
I felt like Doctor Strange himself in this movie is still cool. Like he's still a really cool character, and it's still really interesting the stuff that he chooses to do. I feel like they gave him all the kind of cool stuff, like bringing, you know, the dead version of himself back to life and taking him over, and then controlling the little demon souls or whatever they were inside his body. I thought that was cool, and I thought that was a really interesting way to use his power as well. I felt like those moments were well earned to the Doctor Strange character, and that's where they really flex their muscles. But again, it's more like I enjoyed a lot of those cool moments. Like that's a really cool moment that I feel like I can remember for a while. But overall, as a film, I just don't feel like it's really a film. It's more like a lot of cool scenes. Like if you rewatch this movie, you're going to be like, all right, let's go to the Wanda scene. All right, let's go to the Doctor Strange, you know, Walking Dead scene, or let's go to this scene. Like it doesn't feel like a cohesive film with a true arc to it, even throughout the Doctor Strange character. I mean, especially the side characters. Side characters, like I already mentioned that, like they're nothing. But even the Doctor Strange character is like barely something there. And I hanged on to that. I was like, all right, at least Doctor Strange is still, you know, he's still doing it. And he's still cool. And he still gets to do a lot of fun stuff in the movie. But that's kind of it, man. That's kind of all I got from this movie.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Again, I hear all your flaws. Your flaws are all accurate. I think it might have been more appropriate to even do this as like a two-parter kind of movie. Like it could have been just a straight up Doctor Strange sequel, and you know, and then maybe the Wanda thing, you know, because I just felt like they did give us a whole Wanda movie and a whole Doctor Strange sequel like jammed into one. Along with all this other crazy Illuminati and all these other big moments, you know, stuff like that. But I do think if they would have stretched it out a little bit more, maybe if they would have been 20, 30 more minutes, more Wanda in the beginning, you know, before she made that evil turn, because it was literally the dream sequence. And then Doctor Strange came to talk to her, and then she was giving her evil villain plot. That's not necessarily good storytelling. You know, you at least want to wait like till halfway to reveal, you know, how bad she really is.
Even a villain has more. Even like a true, like bad to the bone villain in any kind of other superhero movie has more than that. Has more sympathy than that.
No, and I think, you know, I'm glad Wanda at the end, like, you know, learned her lesson. I think that scene at the end was beautiful when America showed herself in front of her kids. Yeah, the kids. I don't know why they even were in this movie. That was terrible. I don't know. They're not. I know they're supposed to act like, you know, kids. I don't know if the direction is to be bad actors or whatever, but I don't mean to hate on
the
kid
most
actors,
unrealistic kids.
Yeah, that's not. It's not
like, Mama,
man.
I love you, Mom.
Yeah,
and it's like, what? Kids don't say that. Kids are dancing to Fortnite.
Right. It's like, yeah, it kind of felt like, damn, did anybody in this who made this movie like actually have kids? And then also like I thought they had powers. Like, why weren't they helping Wanda when she was getting like bullied by other Wanda? Anyway, I digress. Ultimately, though,
it really makes her look bad, though. It really makes her look like when she says, "I'm not a monster" in that scene, and the kids are scared of her. In that moment, you realize like, oh, she's saying to herself like, "Oh, I guess I am a monster." And I literally said that out loud in the theater. I was like, yeah, you are. You're a monster. But then you see like there's another version of a Wanda who does want to do the exact same thing she has. But even the thinking process of it all, like even Wong says it like 20 minutes in the movie. He's like, what about the other Wanda? Are you just going to kidnap their kids? Like, how does that make any sense if you think about it for more than 10 seconds? Which is why, again, I go back to that. But again, if you never, I was cool with it because, again, they want to do her dirty. That's cool. But they did do her dirty, in my opinion. That's fine. Because this movie is about Doctor Strange anyway. But again,
yo, that scene at the end when the third eye popped out, like, wait, yo,
what?
when he he's just walking on the sidewalk all known when the Doctor Strange music is playing.
And it just ends.
He just gets on his knees and then his eye pops out. I literally was screaming in the theater like, yo, this is the exact movie I wanted. Like the full stop. They knew how to end it just for me, man. They knew how to
but
end
even
it just
the
for
post-credit scene was with Charlize Theron, her character.
I had no idea what that was.
Yeah, it felt very much kind of like unearned. It felt very much like, okay, are we supposed to care or no? You know, I don't know. I just felt overall, as a Marvel movie, it just didn't feel like a complete film at all. It felt like more like an episode or something of a TV show.
All these, listen, I've been saying this entire time, all of these movies are starting to feel like TV episodes. You know what I mean? Like, and this is definitely like, I'm buying into the Marvel TV show. I used to be against that whole narrative, but this is definitely that, because this was definitely taking a full 8-episode show and making that part of the narrative arc now. That's like part of the spectrum. So, you know, if we're going to be expected to watch all these shows now, I'm just going to look at this as like, they're not like movies. They're just pieces of a greater story. But I do think like, the casting of John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, not the biggest fan of it. I think it's a little easy.
It felt a little weird, right?
It felt
weird.
Yeah, I don't know if he put his heart into that little cameo joint that he had. Maybe it's actually doing it in the movie, but also it's just, that's been the fan casting for so long. At a certain point, it's like, was Kevin Feige literally just reading what everybody wanted and just
probably
casted that? Like, I don't. And then if that's the case, I don't like it. And honestly, I was hoping he would be black, because if we got Kang, who's black, like Kang is allegedly the descendant of Mr. Fantastic, right? So I don't know. What's up with that.
That's a really good point. It almost is like they kind of forgot about that, even though it's the same writer as Loki too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
that's weird. That's interesting.
I'm hoping that maybe this, Sue Storm, maybe she's black or something like that. Maybe
it's another universe. Maybe it's the whole universe thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why that scene, as much as it was a fun scene, didn't work 120% for me. Like, it worked in the scene of, like, as far as like filmmaking wise. But as far as like emotional wise, it felt very much more like a cannon fodder scene. Except for Black Bolt. Black Bolt was and Monica Rambeau. Those are the only two that I was like, oh, come on. The other ones I was just like, this is cannon fodder. Like,
nah. I liked it though. I love seeing Captain Carter like in real live action. Like, that was pretty cool. That was actually pretty cool.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's going to come up again? And if they are, is it going to be the same actors?
These what if characters like the Captain I don't think Captain Carter's gonna come up again.
Or
Black Bolt. No, I think that was just a little wink and a nod to like people who like paying attention. I think
so. Is all this just a joke then? It's just a joke. Professor X was a joke too,
bro. Ralph Boner was a joke. You remember that? Yeah. We sat through mad weeks like, oh my God, is Evan Peters really back? Is this really Quicksilver? Like, nah, it was a joke. Like, they did Adrian Killian a joke. That's what Marvel does. They just like making jokes, So I'm not.
What about Professor X? Are we not going to get the X-Men in this universe?
I mean, they're probably gonna be a different X-Men, but I'm not gonna lie. Like, it was funny. It is. I'm not like it was kind of funny seeing Patrick Stewart as Professor X, because I do like James McAvoy like a lot as that one, and honestly, those kind of, for like recency bias, like those have kind of been the ones that have like kind of stuck in my mind. So literally, like that scene when Patrick Stewart is in the dream sequence and he's getting up and he's walking, that was another moment I'm like, oh, he's walking. Like, that was just so yeah, I don't know. I don't want to see Patrick Stewart. I don't want to see that X-Men universe back. I want to see them do fresh, start it fresh.
Me neither,
Or-
which is why I was kind of confused that they
yeah.
did do that. But again, only to kill him. That's why it's kind of confusing, man. And maybe I'm tripping, but I don't know. Again, I'm sure the audience or the comments are going to tell me I am. But I feel like you're bringing all these kind of like memorable characters from the X-Men universe. Even Wanda. Wanda is an X-Men. Like she is from the X-Men comics. Like that's where people know her from. And obviously Professor X is as well. And you kind of just kill off Wanda, kill off Professor X, and then just kind of laugh about it. And it's just kind of like, okay, what are we going to do with the X-Men then, Mr. Kevin Feige? Like, I don't know. I just don't know.
Well, I don't know. Again, I don't know what iteration of the X-Men they're looking to work towards. But I do think Wanda dying. Look, I don't count anybody dying in the MCU as actually dying. Like, I think she died, and I think in the next movie they're gonna be like, oh, we need Wanda again. They're gonna go another universe, grab the Wanda from another universe, and then bring her back or something. That's literally what's probably gonna happen.
That's a fair point.
And then with Professor X, like I knew it couldn't have been that serious when they started putting him in the trailers. Honestly, when they started putting him in the trailers, I'm like, oh, okay.
Can I just say the trailers ruined that too, man? Those trailers ruined a lot. Like even the final scene was from the trailer.
Yeah, it was.
Like the scene between the two Wandas, I was like, this was in the trailer, and this was the last scene of the movie.
Right.
It just kind of ruined it for me. The trailers did.
I love the movie visually. I love the movie soundtrack. Danny Elfman.
The score.
Yeah.
So good. The best part of the movie for sure.
With that little guitar riff, like that was kind of almost like an evil theme a little bit. I like that.
Piano throughout.
Yeah. The little scene when they were doing the fights with the music notes was fun. Score. Yeah.
They fought with the score.
Yeah. No, that was nice. So I'm with that. I like elements of it. I like the visuals of it. Story wise, not the greatest. Narrative wise, not the greatest. Character wise, not the greatest. But I have fun because I like Sam Raimi movies and I like Marvel movies. So what can I say?
And I actually did kind of laugh at the final post credit scene. I don't know if you did.
Oh, with Bruce Campbell when he stopped punching himself.
At first I was like, oh, this is lame. And then when he was like, it's over, I was just like, all right, you got me.
Yo, funny. I love the look to cameras because it happened. There was a point where Doctor Strange looked at camera, and there was a point where Wanda almost stared at camera for 2 seconds. I'm like, yo, that's kind of cool. Like it was cool. And then obviously. With Bruce Campbell too. Yeah. I kind of like that. I like that happened.
The scene where Wanda is getting possessed and she herself in a picture looks at herself. That was cool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Oh, the whole scene when she was taking out Cumberbatch was nuts too. Like she was getting bodies, and that's when. And there's 2 scenes I should have known this movie was going to be different. That scene when the big squid monster came, and then we saw the entire eye get pulled out, and get dragged on the road. Yeah. This movie is going to be different. And then the scene with Cumberbatch, because literally they were showing smoking bodies, as the camera was glazing to the floor,
No, I caught that too, because then immediately I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, there's no coming back from this. Because at first I was like, it's just gonna do the explosion and they're all gonna fly away. But then when you start seeing the bodies and crap, I was like, no, there's no coming back. You're not gonna be just like, yeah, I was kind of angry. Time to be on the lunchbox again. I'm like, no, Wanda, no good.
Wanda got to be the best villain in MCU history for sure.
That's a really interesting point. She's definitely up there as far as cool factor. She's very cool. I still like the Spider-Man villains, but she's definitely up there. Either way, guys, those were our thoughts on the Multiverse of Madness. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. As we said before, this is all spoilers, so let me know your spoiler thoughts. You probably love this movie. I see a lot of people who told me I'm tripping and they love this movie. That's totally fine, guys. These are just our opinions and our thoughts. No need to throw hate or shade. Just our opinions on the overall film. A lot of cool moments, but overall, just not for me overall. Either way, RB3, where can everyone find you, man?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Director RB3.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Squad Leader Race, and us at First Cut TMO. Either way, guys, hope you enjoyed this film. Hope you enjoyed this review. Leave us a comment, do all that good stuff. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. But for the First Cut crew, we're going to be deucing out. Deuces.